Welcome to the Plato Paradigm, a paradigm shift in reading Plato's dialogues. Episode 213, Lysis 208d to 209b. Socrates has established so far in his questioning that the parents of Lysis entrust all the various professional things which need to be done not to Lysis himself. He's not allowed to do what he desires, but to experts. Some of them are paid and some of them are slaves. Socrates has just concluded that, therefore, there are very many rulers, despotai, who control Lysis. The point about the word despotes is that a master is in relation to slaves. Socrates is implying that Lysis has the status of a slave. This is not entirely fair, of course, because these people don't tell Lysis to do things as they would tell a slave to do things for their own benefit. They are telling Lysis what to do for his benefit. So long as Lysis is incompetent because he hasn't learnt the technai for any particular activity, he could endanger not only himself, but other people and things. Also, a slave tends to be a slave for life, while the parents are clearly concerned with making Lysis a proper despotes himself when he grows up. Socrates now turns to the treatment of Lysis by the parents themselves. Al ara epitanoi cade elthes paraten metera, ekenise e apoien hotian bule, hin aute Macarios es, e perita aerea, e peritoniston, hotan hufaine, ut igarpu diacoluese, etes pathes, etes cercidos, e alutu ton peritalasiurgian organon haptesthai. But surely whenever you go home to mother, she allows you to do whatever you want, so that you might be blessed to her, whether with regard to the wool or the loom whenever she's weaving. For I don't suppose she prevents you from touching the weaving blade or the shuttle or the tools to do with spinning wool. She may be his mother, but she has her crafts, here weaving and spinning wool. But two examples are enough to make the point. Kai hos gelasas, ma dia efe, o Socrates, monon ge diakolue, ala kai tuptoimen an e haptoimen. And he laughed and said, by Zeus, O Socrates, not only does she prevent, but I would be beaten if I were to touch. Notice that Lysis is laughing. What Socrates is saying is absurd. Herakles endego, mon meti edikecas ton patera eten metera. Hercules, I said, surely you haven't done an injustice to your father or your mother. Ma di uk ego ge efe. By Zeus, not I, he said. This is the response Socrates would have expected from Lysis. Socrates continues, al antitinos men hutos denos diakolou sin eudaimona enai, kai poien hotian bule, kai di hemeras holes trefusisse aeto du levonta kai henilogo oligu hon epithumes uden poiunta. So in exchange for what do they prevent you so terribly from being successful and doing what you want? And through a whole day they bring you up, serving all the time someone else, and in a word, virtually you do nothing of the things that you desire. Well, this is the main question in philosophy. Why? What is the motive for actions, not the actions themselves? By describing the situation in such an extreme way, Socrates does help to focus the question, what is the motive? Hos tesoi, hos eoiken, uteton chrematon tosuton onton, uden ophelos, ala pantes auton malon archusin esu, utetu somatos, huto genaiu ontos, ala kai tuto allos poimaine kai therapeue. So that it seems that you have no benefit from the money or possessions, although there is so much of it, but all control it rather than you. And you don't even control your body, so noble as it is. But even this, someone else tends and treats. Tending and treating are both verbs which may apply to animals, and Lysis is therefore being portrayed as a helpless animal. This is just one step up from being a slave. Socrates then rubs it in with a final remark. Sude arches udenos, o Lysi, ude poies udenhon epithumes. But you control no one, Lysis, and you don't do anything of the things which you desire. It's interesting that Socrates combines the two elements of controlling others and doing what one desires. Sometimes controlling others is what someone desires, while for others, controlling other people helps them attain what they desire, such as Hippothales. He has controlled, or he thinks he's controlled, Ctesippus and Socrates, and they are helping him learn how to attain Lysis, his lust object. We should note that Ctesippus thinks he's doing what he's doing as a friend. He doesn't feel that he's being controlled. And for Socrates, it's part of his manipulative strategy to appear to do what other people want him to do, simply so that he can do what he wants to do. It would appear, at least, that he wants to talk to Lysis. Everything he has done so far in the dialogue has led up to this conversation with Lysis. U garpo efe helikian echo, O Socrates. For, he said, I'm not yet of age, Socrates. Age is still used as an arbitrary standard for permission to do particular things, but age is arguably not the reason why people should or should not do something. It really should be about competence and benefit. Socrates immediately goes on to point out that age isn't the problem. Me ou tu tose o pai democratus colue epei togetos onde hosegomai kai ho pater kai he meter soi epitrepusin kai uk anamenusin heos anhelikian eches hotan gar bulon tai hautois tina anagnosthenae e graphenai se hosegomai proton tonente oikia epi tuto tatusin egar panung efe. Surely this isn't what prevents you, O son of Democrates, since at least to this extent, so I believe, both father and mother entrust to you, and don't put it off until you're of age. Whenever, for example, they want things to be read to them or to be written, They appoint you to this, first of the people in the household. Isn't that so? Absolutely, he said. Somehow Socrates is guessing that his parents can't read or write and they have to get someone else to do it for them, and he is correct. Alternatively, he knows that these are the sort of parents who would find any opportunity to encourage their son to read and write and feel useful at something at least where he is competent. Socrates now explores the notion that if his parents allow him to read and write, he is allowed to do whatever he wants while he reads and writes. Uk un existisoi entaus hotian bule proton men grammaton graphen kai hotian deuteron kai anagignosken hos autos existin. So here you're allowed to write whatever you want first of the letters and whatever you want second of the letters, and you're allowed to do the same in reading. Lysis doesn't get a chance to answer, or perhaps he doesn't want to answer, or he thinks that Socrates is being silly, because as we may know, when you read or write, you don't have license to read or write any letter you want, but only the letters which are socially agreed upon for forming particular words, and the words themselves have to be in a particular order which makes the sentences intelligible. We might say then that the technai itself, the art itself, rules the artist. The artist can be creative, but within a straitjacket. Kai epidan hosegomai ten lyran labes udiaco lu sise ute hopater ute hemeter epitenaite kai anenai hen anbuleton chordon kai pselai kai cruen to plectro. And whenever I imagine you take the lyre, they don't prevent you, neither father nor mother, from tightening or loosening whichever of the strings you want, and they don't prevent you from picking or plucking with a plectron. Having said all that, Socrates now asks a question which Lysis can react to. E diakolusin udeta. Or do they prevent you? No. His parents may prefer him to read or write rather than play the lyre, because there he can play notes out of order in whichever way he wants. And that isn't necessarily a good thing.